Friends, I am Vijay Kumar, Deputy Secretary in the Government of India. This is my seventh talk on general financial rules and second talk on chapter 6, which deals with various aspects of procurement of goods and services in government. In this talk, I will discuss from rule number 156 to rule number 169. For a better understanding of this chapter, please revisit my earlier talks. I have given their links in the description of this talk. In the description, my mobile number is also given to facilitate suggestions and raise queries, which I would love to answer to the best of my abilities. I would like to emphasize that this chapter is the most important chapter. I like calling this chapter the actual GFRs, as the rules of this chapter are applicable for day-to-day purchases in government offices. Therefore, I will request one should pay special attention to the talks given in this chapter. First, we will take up Rule 156. However, this rule has been deleted. Therefore, there is no need to discuss it. Rule 157 is prohibitory. It prohibits from dividing a demand for goods into small quantities to make piecemeal purchases to avoid the necessity of obtaining the sanction of higher authority. Rule 158 provides that, except in cases covered under Rules 154 and 155, goods shall be procured in accordance with Rule 147 by obtaining bids in: first, advertised tender inquiry; second, limited tender inquiry; third, two-stage bidding; fourth, single tender inquiry; fifth, electronic reverse auctions. Rule 159 makes it mandatory for all ministries, departments of the central government, their attached and subordinate offices, and autonomous and statutory bodies to e-publish their tender inquiries, corrigenda thereon, and details of bid awards on the Central Public Procurement Portal. However, individual cases where confidentiality is required for reasons of national security, such cases are exempted from e-publishing subject to the approval of the Secretary of the Ministry or Department with the concurrence of the concerned financial advisor. In the case of autonomous and statutory bodies, approval of the head of the body with the concurrence of the head of the finance should be obtained. The number of such cases and the value of the concerned contract should be intimated quarterly to the Ministry of Finance, Department of Expenditure. Rule 160 makes it mandatory for ministries, departments to receive all procurement bids through e-procurement portals. Though individual cases involving national security and strategic considerations are exempt from e-procurement, subject to the approval of concerned secretary and concurrence of financial advisor. In case of tenders floated by Indian missions abroad, too, the competent authority may exempt from e-procurement. Rule 161 provides that first, subject to exceptions incorporated under Rule 154, 155, 162 and 166. Invitation to tenders by advertisement should be used for procurement of goods of estimated value of rupees 25 lakhs and above. Second, advertisement in such cases should be given on Central Public Procurement Portal on ZEM. An organization having its own website should also publish all its advertised tender inquiries on the website. Fourth, however, e-procurement as per the rule 160 is not to be insisted where the goods of the required quality, specifications, etc. are to be obtained from foreign countries. In such cases, the ministry department may send copies of the tender notice to the Indian embassies abroad as well as to the foreign embassies in India. Fifth, ordinarily, the minimum time to be allowed for submission of bids should be 3 weeks from the date of publication of the tender notice or availability of the bidding document for sale, whichever is latter. 6. Where the department also contemplates obtaining bids from abroad, the minimum period should be kept as 4 weeks for both domestic and foreign bidders. According to Rule 162, the method of limited tender inquiry may be adopted when estimated value of the goods to be procured is up to rupees 25 lakhs. Copies of the bidding document should be sent directly by a speed post, registered post, courier, email to firms which are borne on the list of registered suppliers for the goods in question. The number of supplier firms in a limited tender inquiry should be more than 3. Efforts should be made to identify a higher number of approved suppliers to obtain more responsive bids on competitive basis. Further, an organization should publish its limited tender inquiries on Central Public Procurement Portal as well as on the department's or ministry's website. Purchase through limited tender inquiry may be adopted even where the estimated value of the procurement is more than rupees 25 lakhs in the following circumstances. First, the competent authority certifies that the demand is urgent and additional expenditure involved by not procuring through advertised tender inquiry is justified in view of urgency. Second, sufficient reasons exist in public interest not to procure the goods through advertised tender inquiry. Third, the sources of supply are definitely known and possibility of fresh sources beyond those being tapped is remote. In terms of Rule 163, for purchasing high value plant, machinery, etc., of a complex and technical nature, bids may be obtained in two parts simultaneously in a single cover as under. First, technical bid consisting of all technical details along with commercial terms and conditions. And second, financial bid indicating item-wise price for the items mentioned in the technical bid. The technical bid and the financial bid should be sealed by the bidder in separate covers, duly superscribed, and both these sealed covers are to be put in a bigger cover which should also be sealed and duly superscribed. The technical bids are to be opened by the purchasing ministry or department at the first instance and evaluated by a competent committee or authority. At the second stage, financial bids of only technically acceptable offers should be opened after intimating them the date and time of opening the financial bid for further evaluation and ranking before awarding the contract. Rule 164 provides for two-stage bidding, that is, receipt of financial bids after the receipt and evaluation of technical bids. This method of procurement is to be adopted when it is not feasible to formulate detailed specifications or identify specific characteristics for the subject matter of procurement without receiving inputs regarding its technical aspects from bidders, or the character of the subject matter of procurement is subject to rapid technological advances or market fluctuations or both, or ministry oblique department seeks to enter into a contract purely for the purpose of research, experiment, study or development, or the bidder is expected to carry out a detailed survey or investigation and undertake a comprehensive assessment of risks, costs and obligations associated with the particular procurement. The procedure for two-stage bidding shall include the following. The procedure for two-stage bidding shall include the following. A. In the first stage of the bidding process, the Ministry oblique department shall invite bids through advertised tender containing the technical aspects and contractual terms and conditions of the proposed procurement without a bid price. B. All first stage bids which are otherwise eligible shall be evaluated through an appropriate committee constituted by the ministry or department. C. Equal opportunity shall be given by the committee to all bidders to participate in the discussions. D. The procuring entity shall not modify the fundamental nature of the procurement, but may add, amend, or omit any specification of the subject matter of procurement or criterion for evaluation. E. In the second stage of the bidding process, the procuring entity shall invite bids from all those bidders whose bids at the first stage were not rejected to present final bid with bid prices in response to a revised set of terms and conditions of the procurement. F. Any bidder invited to bid but not in a position to supply the subject matter of procurement due to modification in the specifications of terms and conditions may withdraw from the bidding proceedings without forfeiting any bid security or being penalized in any way. Rule 165 provides that in the case of advertised tender inquiry or limited tender inquiry, bids received after the specified date and time should not be considered. Rule 166 provides that procurement from a single source may be resorted to in the following circumstances. First, it is in the knowledge of the user department that only a particular firm is the manufacturer of the required goods. Second, in a case of emergency, the required goods are necessarily to be purchased from a particular source, and the reason for such decision is to be recorded and approval of competent authority obtained. Third, for a standardization of machinery or spare parts to be compatible to the existing sets of equipment on the advice of a competent technical expert and approved by the competent authority, the required item is to be purchased only from a selected firm. It is important to note that the proprietary article certificate in the prescribed form is to be provided by the Ministry oblique department before procuring the goods from a single source. Rule 167 provides for electronic reverse auction, which in fact refers to an online real-time purchasing technique utilized by the procuring entity to select the successful bid, which involves presentation by bidders of successively more favorable bids during a scheduled period of time and automatic evaluation of bids. A procuring entity may choose electronic reverse auction in the following situations. First, when it is feasible for the procuring entity to formulate a detailed description of the subject matter of the procurement. Second, when there is a competitive market of bidders anticipated to be qualified to participate in the electronic reverse auction so that effective competition is ensured. Third, when the criteria to be used by the procuring entity in determining the successful bid are quantifiable and can be expressed in monetary terms. The procedure for electronic reverse auction shall include the following. First, the procuring entity shall solicit bids through an invitation to the electronic reverse auction to be published or communicated in accordance with the provisions similar to e-procurement. And second, the invitation shall, in addition to the information as specified in e-procurement, include details relating to access to and registration for the auction, opening and closing of the auction, and norms for conduct of the auction. In terms of Rule 168, all the terms, conditions, stipulations, and information to be incorporated in the bidding document are to be shown in the appropriate chapters as below. Chapter 1, Instructions to Bidders. Chapter 2, Conditions of Contract. Chapter 3, Schedule of Requirements. Chapter 4, Specifications and Allied Technical Details. Chapter 5, Price Schedule to be utilized by the bidders for quoting their prices. Chapter 6, Contract Form. Chapter 7, Other standard forms, if any, to be utilized by the purchaser and the bidders. Rule 169 provides that, depending on the cost and nature of the goods to be purchased, it may also be necessary to enter into maintenance contracts of suitable period, either with the supplier of the goods or with any other competent firm. Such maintenance contracts are especially needed for sophisticated and costly equipment and machinery. It may, however, be kept in mind that the equipment or machinery is maintained free of charge by the supplier during its warranty period or such other extended periods as the contract terms may provide, and the paid maintenance should commence only thereafter. I would like to conclude my talk here. In my next talk, I will take up further rules of this chapter. I thank you for patient listening.